Coming up on today's episode, WWE creative has nothing for Rusev, Vince McMahon wanted Chris Jericho to return to WWE, Laurie recaps last night's episode of NXT, including Charlotte's return to the yellow brand, and Luke recaps last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, where Cody gets whipped a lot. Kinky.
Support Wrestle Talk!
Give us a subscribe.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestle Talk stacked news and stacked reviews. I'm Chopper Pete Quinnell. The tail end of 2019 will be remembered as the time where WWE dropped the ball with The Fiend at Hell in a Cell, Seth Rollins was the babyface who was actually a total heel, and Lana, Bobby Lashley, and Rusev were in that weird cucking story that seemed to last for a decade. Seemingly though, that story has now come to its conclusion, with Lana and Liv Morgan now embroiled in a singles feud, and also Ruby Riott is there. The losers in this scenario were Rusev and Bobby Lashley, who were removed from the Men's Royal Rumble match for seemingly no reason, and now one of them can't even get on Raw. The supposed reason why Rusev hasn't been on Raw recently, according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, is simply because Creative has nothing for Rusev. I'll just ship him one of these then, shall I? Thinking back to December 2019, when the reports surrounding the Rusev and Lashley storyline was that Rusev was supposed to come out of the story looking really good, this isn't exactly the greatest look now, is it? While his wife Lana has confirmed a re-signing with WWE, Rusev is still yet to re-sign with the company, and this may just be another nail in the coffin for Rusev's departure. Rusev has been quite vocal with his unhappiness in WWE, so perhaps he's now just biding his time until his contract expires so he can be on his merry way to another Rusev day. #bars, that rhymed. Hopefully Creative can find something good for Rusev to do, because despite the story being a little bit pants, Rusev was incredibly over through the whole arc, and to throw that away would be a little bit of a waste. Speaking of a little bit of a something, Vince McMahon wanted Chris Jericho to come back to WWE. That was the worst segue I've ever done in my life. AEW has been exceeding expectations over on TNT since October when they first went live with AEW Dynamite. One of the key factors that has helped draw mainstream eyes to the product is current AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. Le Champion has made sure to get over every single object in his sight, and his natural main event appeal has helped elevate AEW to rival and even consistently outperform NXT in the ratings. However, if Vince McMahon had his way, this would never have been the case. Shocking, I know. Speaking on his own podcast Talk is Jericho, Chris recalled when he first signed his contract with AEW, saying, "I'm not in AEW because I was a rebel. I'm with AEW because Vince went, go. And then when I went, he went, did you sign the contract? I said, well, yeah. He said, can you get out of it? No, you told me to sign it. Classic Vince McMahon, really, not realizing what he has until it's gone. Jericho went on to say his own signing in AEW was reminiscent of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall showing up in WCW in 1996, considering McMahon had the power to stop these stars from leaving his company, but didn't, and 23 years later, he made the same mistake again. Oh, Vince, when will you learn? Of course, if you're watching up to this point, make sure to give us a thumbs up and have a thumbs up party to help us out and help this video reach more people. Can almost hear Ollie telling me to dance now.
Dance, Chopper!
We've got Laurie's NXT recap and Luke's AEW Dynamite review to come, but first, if you missed yesterday's announcement in the Wrestle Talk news, Adam Blompier is now officially part of the Wrestle Talk team, and he'll be doing monthly fantasy booking videos, and make sure you subscribe because something major is coming on Sunday. Check it out.
Viewer discretion is advised. The following announcement may shock you. They said it couldn't be done. They said it shouldn't be done. They said it wouldn't be done. But we could, we should, and we would. We have. A YouTube series so bold, so fresh, and so new, we're surprised no one has done it before. So make sure you're sat down because we are about to change your world. Lists. We know. We're ahead of the curve. We are so far ahead of the curve, we've come back around and are now chasing the curve. And when we catch the curve, we're going to crush it. We made a practice list of 10 people we want to host them, and we came up with one guy. A one-man list of one-man list machines called Adam Brompier. Yes, him. So snort the remnants of your melted brain back up through your nostrils, accept that newfound tingling sensation in your balls, or whatever ladies have instead of balls, because we don't know, and get ready for information assigned a numerical value and read out in descending order by this guy, because Wrestle Talk does lists soon. I'm thinking in my book, web doctor guy. Oh my god, those guys are doing that! The Velveteen Dream returns, Charlotte gets dumped on her crown by Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, and Keith Lee versus Dijak times a million is happening at TakeOver Portland. It's NXT recap time, baby! And with 1 week to go before TakeOver Portland, Full Sail became Brawlhalla as nobody could keep it in their pants for the pay-per-view. Now the Broserweights kicked off the show in style, sporting a combo theme song, a new logo, and a pimped out golf cart. Riddle and Unhappy Gilmore then said that they'd already won the Dusty Cup and now they're going to become the tag team champions. But Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly arrived to cut them off, but they won't actually jump the two as they say they have bigger fish to fry. Bobby Fish says the word fish and it becomes a whole thing for quite a long time because he's saying his name. It's like he's a Pokemon. This was a fun little opener that got a little bit goofy, but played into the inherent stoner comedy of Matt Riddle, bouncing off of the stony countenance of Pete Dunne. Stones. Fresh from giving Rey Mysterio a concrete blaster on Raw, stones, Angel Garza got to chuck his trousers at Isaiah Swerve Scott on NXT. This was your classic cruiserweight match, in that the guys absolutely killed themselves for a middling spot on the card. Garza picked up the win to maintain momentum and then called out Jordan Devlin for a rematch after the bout. Devlin, funnily enough, didn't answer and it was never mentioned again. Undisputed Era were backstage shaving men and trying to find Ciampa. I don't know why. After that, Dominik Dijakovic had a close-fought fight with Killian Dane in the weird, heavy cruiserweight division that NXT now calls the North American title picture. DD manages to counter a Vader bomb attempt into a Feast Your Eyes and picks up the victory before meeting old rival Keith Lee on the ramp to make their match at TakeOver Portland official. This is great, totally well-deserved, and I cannot wait to see the full-scale director's cut version of that match. Give me more. Yui was still backstage at this point and they put Kushida into a bin, which if it isn't a metaphor for his booking since he lost to Walter, I don't know what is. Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano are Skyping each other and both are annoyed about something, possibly because they both asked tits or GTFO and then they were like, no, you tits or GTFO, no, you tits or GTFO, no, you. After some good banter, Johnny says he's going to drive the NXT flag that he's been waving through Finn Balor's heart. Finn says he hasn't got one. It is about as cheesy as it sounds and the Google Hangout only makes it even more awkward. Then Mercedes Martinez knocked the Ninja Warrior Casey Catanzaro a few rungs down the salmon ladder with a win, because of course she did. Look at the difference between the two of them. Just look at them. Look at it. And then the Era is still backstage, but they get jumped by Ciampa, who, like Leroy Jenkins, draws all of the aggro around. The Broserweights jump in and this sort of never-ending brawl begins, to which Regal's response is, you want to have a brawl? Well, we're going to have one later. I mean, it doesn't stop it and it carries on. Then the newly minted Cruiserweight champion Jordan Devlin donked Tyler Breeze with his bonce and he hits the Devlin slide to pick up a win that really showed off the Irish Ace's arsenal. He is great. Then Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley were set to go face-to-face, but they end up face-to-face-to-face as Charlotte Flair returns to Full Sail. Now, the Queen put over Bianca before riling her up with a load of disrespect, and then Rhea says she's all about that Mania match with Charlotte, but we are NXT. And the subliminal hypnotic programming kicks in at the trigger words and they both jump Chaz, leaving her laying as they face off. This was a great segment. And for the main course, Ciampa and the Broserweights took on Cole, Fish and O'Reilly in 6-man action. It was as good as you would expect from this match. The best moment was Ciampa grabbing Kyle's foot to stop a hot tag before realizing that Cole would be the one coming in on the tag and just letting it happen. What a moment. Really well scripted. One of the most interesting tags I've seen in a long time. But before all of that can be capitalized on though, Roderick Strong interferes for the DQ, causing a 4-on-3 beatdown and summoning the return of the Velveteen Dream, who David Copperfields himself onto the turnbuckle for this crazy brawl and a proper showdown with Strong. But he didn't learn quick change magic, this Copperfield, and his trousers, they just won't come off. He really needs to speak to Angel Garza about that. It was kind of sloppy in places, but ultimately a molten hot return for Dream. NXT this week was, as you could expect, awesome, and it finally feels like we have some proper focus and genuine heat beginning to build into the matches for TakeOver Portland. Pat yourselves on the back, everyone. Not you, Ciampa, you do that too much. Over to Luke for AEW now. But first, we just need to give a shout out to WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez, for being an awesome pledgehammer on Patreon.
Thanks for that developmental review there, El Fagador. But it's now time to get elite, as I review the 5th of February 2020 edition of AEW Dynamite in about 4 minutes. Ring that bell. The show kicked off with Snake Plissken. Gian Moxley taking on Ortiz in a really good match, which saw Mox pick up the win with the paradigm shift. Chris Jericho and his inner circle were on commentary during the match, who then witnessed Mox stab Santana in the eye with a car key. Later in the show, Santana cut a fantastic promo about this, and a battle of the one-eyed willies will take place next week. SCU beat Best Friends in a really well-worked tag match, and Dark Order attacked both teams following the bell, even offering Orange Cassidy a place in their group. Don't you dare do it, Cassidy. Christopher Daniels ran down to make the save. This was all very good stuff. Yuka Sakazaki had her first AEW match since Fyter Fest last year and picked up a win over Britt Baker when Baker distracted herself by acting like a heel and pulling Yuka's hair. The Baker heel turn is now complete, as she dinked Yuka with the ring bell and stomped her jaw into the bottom rope, knocking a tooth out. This was an effective post-match angle, but it was our third match in a row with shenanigans after the bell. What was easily the best thing on the show, however, because of course it was the 8-man tag of the Butcher and Blade and Lucha Brothers taking on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page and the Young Bucks. This was flipping-tastic and impossible to take notes on because it was all action all the time. Everyone looked amazing, everyone hit big moves, everyone got near falls, and everyone was over with this super hot crowd. But the key is the Hangman storyline. For starters, he didn't join in with the team entrance and looked nonplussed when Omega was working with Matt and Nick Jackson. The Young Bucks had the match won at one point, but Page blind tagged himself in and then couldn't tag Omega, who was taken out on the outside, and refused to tag the Young Bucks back into the match, leading to him getting pinned by the Lucha Brothers. The Bucks shouted at Page later in the show and blamed his drinking problems on the loss, telling him that he's going to lose the titles next week against SCU, who are the #1 ranked team. This was my most anticipated thing on the show, and it did not disappoint. Kenny Omega accepted Pac's rematch challenge after he threatened to beat up Riho. I can't believe Riho was on TV for a change, but said that he wouldn't hurt a woman because he may be a bastard, but he's not a beast. Nyla Rose, however, is a beast, and she powerbombed Riho onto the table, but because she's so light, the table didn't break. They're having a championship match next week. Blimey, 2 weeks in a row, Riho! Darby Allin is setting his sights on Inner Circle, and Kip Sabian and Joey Janela had a decent match, which saw Sabian pick up the win after some Penelope 4 distractions.
That is a beautiful name, Penelope.
So, let's get into this main event. On the one hand, this was great. The drama was incredible. The crowd was so into Cody as a babyface. They hated MJF as the heel. The emotion felt real. This was a home run segment. But it also went a little bit too long, and personally it didn't really do much for me. I already love Cody and I hate MJF, and I don't think this segment made me love Cody more or hate MJF more. In fact, this fan sign that MJF listens to Coldplay made me hate him more. I honestly don't know where I quite sit on this one, but it clearly worked for the crowd as a fan tried to attack MJF and Wardlow just before the show went off the air. So that was this week's AEW Dynamite. In about 4 minutes, vote in the poll above my head to let me know what you thought of the show using these options on screen. AEW's biggest strength right now is that it has several great storylines involving all of their main players and are being told really well, and they're all crossing over with each other. I love all of the Hangman Page stuff. I loved all the Moxley stuff, and while the Cody angle did little for me, I can't argue that it wasn't effective. This week's AEW Dynamite is a low AEW sum. What was Ollie Davis's pretty big bit of news yesterday? Click the video on screen right now to find out, and subscribe to the Wrestle Talk podcast to hear Adam Blompier review WWE Royal Rumble 2020. I think I just gave away what the pretty big bit of news was. Dang it, I've been Luke Owen and that was wrestling.